Well, hello there. Welcome back. This is James, and this is our 84 Dodge Omni GLH, and we're gonna get some more work done today. It's the weekend. It's a little hot out in the garage. I mean, it's not as bad as it was a couple weeks ago, but it's warm. I'm sweating. I've already been out here a couple hours. Already had to change shirts. But anyway, our last video, we were doing some welding on the floor pan with the little flux core welder. And I think we're going to continue with that today, mainly because my MIG is still out of gas. The local guy I get it refilled from, the little welding shop, they're only open Monday through Friday, like 9 to 5. And I wasn't able to get out there this week to get it filled up, just between work and, just normal people stuff. Wasn't able to get out there. So we got the little Harbor Freight titanium flux core welder. We're going to just keep rolling with it. And since everybody liked the last one, and there was a few comments about maybe showing some more work, just work, fast forward, maybe not voiceover or anything. So we're going to try that today. So that's what this is all about. It's about trying new stuff and seeing what works. But before we get welding on the car, we ran out of wire, so we need to change the wire out. I was able to go to Harbor Freight last night and get some wire. So let's get out there and change this wire out. All right, well, we're going to do this outside. I got my bikes today, but they were both dead, so they're charging up. So hopefully you can hear everything. So let's just let's get the wire changed out on this. Pretty sure I got the same stuff. Looks like we got the same thing. It's a .030. I did get a suggestion of using the thicker stuff, that it's a little better for welding thin sheet, so we will try that next time. We're going to need to get some new tips and probably change the roller out, but all right, we got it all done, all back in through the gun. Got our tip back on. I probably need to buy a new tip, but that's beside the point. But this kept getting stuck up, and I think it was getting stuck on the sticker, maybe, that was on it. I'm not for sure. Seems to be working nice now, but I don't know if you'll be able to see this very well. But this is the difference between the flux core and the solid core MIG wire. So there you can see the difference between the solid core and the flux core. So of course the flux core is a 3.0 and the solid wire is a 2.3, I believe. And that's what we use in our little MIG over there. And excuse the mess. I've been trying. I built a little shelf today. Little shelf there under the bench for all the tools. So let's get the MIG, or the little, I guess it is technically a MIG. It's a flux core MIG. But let's get this set back up over the car, and we'll show you where we're at since the last video, and show you what we're going to work on today. All right, so this is where we're at since last time. If you remember, I'll throw a shot up here. There was a bunch of rust, and we had been marking it out on how to cut it out. And then we cut everything out. And then I made a template of a piece that I wanted to go back in. Ended up modifying a little bit. And then I started just ticky-tacking it in all around. I did this all with the flux core. You can see it's not terrible. I'm getting better. But then again, it's just a floorboard that's going to be under carpet, so it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm really have gotten over the whole fact that, trying to make it perfect. So there's that. So we're going to need to finish getting this piece a little bit more solid in, because I ran out of wire about up there, and we need to get around the top and get that sucked in really good. And then we're going to have some more pieces over here, because on this side, this is the top of the inner rocker, and it's got a little hump that goes up. You can see on the other side the little hump. Now, I did it a little different over there. I actually took a piece and hammered it out and formed it, and it took way too long, and it ended up looking like pretty much hot garbage and was difficult to weld in, and so learned my lessons. So on this side, this isn't the exact piece of metal, but I'm basically gonna make a piece that sets in at kind of an angle this way, and then follows the contour here, and then probably a straight piece over the top that's going to run into this, and then just a little side piece. So 2 pieces here. I'm going to make one piece for this curve. I'm going to make one piece for this curve here, and then probably a plate to plate this off. So there's probably going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 more pieces over on this side. I believe I was trying to make this all one piece here as much as I could, but I ended up just cutting it off, because again, not going to mess around with trying to make these complex curves and pieces. We're just going to get with it. Also, since last time, my door, we got, let me get my light. So also, since last time, we did get this frame rail piece put in, and I don't know if you could tell from, it's really hard to tell from the pictures and stuff, but this whole frame rail piece, which, there rolls away my light. But I don't know if you could tell from the pictures stuff, but this frame rail piece, which comes all the way up from the front over the wheel arch down and ends up underneath the car. It was about an 18-inch section of it on one side that was really rusted out. So we cut that out and we made a template. I actually reinforced the backside, put a new piece on the front, and then capped the whole thing. So a lot of people say, well, is it as strong as the factory? I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I hope it is, but we're going to find out. So we're going to run this, and if we see any cracks or breaks or bends or anything like that, we'll just bring it back in here and cut it out and redo it. I mean, it's just metal. Just metal, people. I made this piece cross brace here also, and made this little flange because this is where the floor is supposed to meet up, and you can see there we got a little bit of work to get that down, and then get these pieces together, which we'll do. Just nothing, a couple of self-tapping screws and a hammer, just simple stuff, simple stuff like that. No, but all seriousness, I've learned that using a self-tapper to get the pieces held in place works really, really well. So, yeah. So, anyway, we'll get back to work on this, and we'll set you up in the car as we start welding. And before we get going too much further, I'm going to bring the other Omni out today. Because last time I got in it to drive it, because it stays up at the house in the garage, battery was dead, and once I got it charged back up, it was running like poop, and I've been charging the battery again today. Fired it up to bring it back here to look at it, because number one, this car is very rust free, and I want to kind of look at how a few things are done on it. It's just kind of an example for stuff I'm working on. And number two, just to get it running, because I hadn't driven it in probably a month. So here it is. I haven't showed this much on here. It's an 85 GLH turbo. Really bad paint. Been wrecked at some point in its lifetime in the front end, and whatever they use to paint this fender, it looks like an alligator. The hood I put on years ago because it had a flat hood. It didn't have the GLH hood, so that's fine. That was me. Yeah, side exhaust is me, wheels is me. The interior is me. I actually found these seats. I found these seats in a junkyard a couple years ago out of a very low mile car, and they are beautiful. You can see the back seat there. It's like near perfect. And the thing is too, these are out of a 2-door. So of course they flip up, which you don't really need them to do, but the seat brackets are lower. They're lower by a couple inches, and they sit back a couple inches, so they're perfect for a taller guy who wants to drive an Omni. Quick rundown on the engine. This is not the stock engine. It's a Turbo 2 engine out of an 88 Daytona Z, and then I added the 2-piece intake, but we used the whole radiator intercooler setup out of that car. DSM blow-off valve. The vacuum lines are absolutely horrendous because when I switched to the 2-piece intake, I redid them real quick about 15 years ago and never redid them. But yeah, this is a good side. It doesn't look too bad on it. Wheels are some old Fittipaldi 5 stars that I painted like a Rust-Oleum gray metallic. Some cheap 205 50 15 tires on it, which is probably about the best size to use on a 15-inch rim on this car. Anyway, I digress. I'm going to let it run a bit. Oh, I've got an aluminum TBI valve cover on it, so it doesn't have turbo on it. It desperately needs to be stripped down and painted. You know, a few little bits and bobs, like a billet water neck from Turbos Unleashed. eBay fan for the radiator. It's a 555 cable shifted transmission, 2.5-inch all the way back side exit exhaust. Yeah, but that's it. So let's get to welding. All right, this is what someone said they wanted to see, is maybe some sped up of me working on this. So I'm going to click the fan on and hammer down and start doing some welding up here, and this get this rest of this front floor pan tacked in, and then we're probably going to pull it. We'll pull the camera back and we'll start templating these other pieces to see what we need to do to get those buzzed in there. It's not going to be anything too complicated or really over the top. I'm going to do it as basic as possible. My whole goal is to get this floor in there solid, ready to go, so we can finish some stuff up underneath and then tackle the back. And that should be pretty much it for the welding, and then we'll get this interior put back together and we'll get this on the road, because I'd like to get this on the road before fall's over. It's mid-September now, so I'd like to, by the end of the month, have this thing at least good enough to drive around and enjoy it before we got to park it for the winter. So sit back and enjoy, and I'm going to crack on and start welding. We'll bring you back if we run into anything interesting. All right, welcome back to day 2. It's now Sunday, and we worked on the passenger side floor plan pretty much all day yesterday from probably about noon till about 8:30 at night. Yeah, it was a long time. What you just saw is clips of only about 17 minutes of that. Yeah, after that I realized my phone doesn't have that much storage, so there's not a whole lot of filming me work, but we're going to do a little bit of work today. So let's get in here first and see what we accomplished today. So we got the majority of the floor pan tacked in. We'll just jump right to it. This top section ended up like absolute dog poop. Yeah, that top corner there, I just could not get it to lay down. None of the welds were wanting to stick to anything. So we're gonna have to address that just a little bit. But as you can see, we got this section put in, and I went a little different direction than what I talked about from yesterday, or for you guys earlier in the video. I was gonna do, the floor pan, was gonna do a piece, and then I was gonna bring another piece in here, and then of course this piece along the wheel tub. But as I got going, I realized I ran this bottom piece as far over to underneath of this front section of the inner rocker as I could, and then I brought this piece over. As I was measuring up to connect them, I got to looking, I was like, you know what? I said, I bet you I could just hammer that up and just connect the two. So that's what I did there. So I just, from underneath, because this is pretty accessible still underneath, I just hammered this up. I had to put a relief cut in here, and basically just slowly hammered it up, and then slowly hammered this piece over. You can see how it come in. There was another relief cut here. I did do a little bit of grinding this morning just to kind of show that. This was a big glob of ugly weld there, but you can see it ground down just fine, and you could even grind that a lot further if you so desired, to get it to look, probably just look like all metal there. But this is what I wanted to show you with the grinding. This is about as far as I'm going to take the welds on this, and this is just what I've learned from doing this. Just kind of knocking the heads off, make it a little smooth. The stuff up there I'm probably not even going to touch, because it's a harder place to grind because of the angle it's at, and it's really, grinding this stuff down is really not super important for stuff like this. I mean, this is not like an exterior body panel where people are going to see it. This is literally going to be under the carpet. I know I keep saying that, but you really need to keep reminding yourself that, hey, nobody's ever going to see this. So we're going to seam, first we're going to rust treat it with some rust treat paint. We'll seam seal over top of it, probably primer over top of that, and then a coat of paint just to keep the seal, the primer in, and that'll be it. Once the carpet goes in, I'm probably going to order some sound deadening too. Still looking at that. We're still a little bit of ways away from getting to that point, but I think I'm going to order some of those stick-on, cheap Amazon sound deadening panels, and I'm going to try to sound deaden this whole floor. Maybe make this a little bit more comfortable car to drive in. So what are we going to make today, and what do we have left? So we've got this big hole up front here, and I spent last night and I made a template out of my professional templating material. And as you can see here, after a couple of trial runs, we'll have to get that just right. But as you can see, it's a template of pretty much the piece that I want to make. And we'll get to showing you how we make that little patch piece, and we'll get to tacking it in, and that'll probably be just about it for this video, because there'll be a lot more little cleanups and grinding and touch-ups and stuff I need to do that we really can't get to. Oh, you can also notice, I can see up here, if you can see, so we got our weld line here, and then you see another line right here. This, anywhere that it was accessible from underneath, I also threw a bunch of tacks on the other side of that lap weld, because pretty much this whole thing's lap welded in, because I find that's, for doing these floor pans, that's really the only way to go. Trying to butt stuff up and get it to fit just takes so much time, and it's just really, really unnecessary for a floor pan. Unless you're doing a really high dollar, restoration or something like that. This is just going to be a driver. This is not a high dollar car. It's just something I want to get the rust out so that I can enjoy it for many, many, many years to come. So let's grab this template piece and we'll get over to the bench. We'll find a piece of metal and we'll cut it out. All right, as you can see here, we have our professional template that we made. We got a little scrap piece of metal still left out of that hood that we are cutting out. Actually, this is even a better piece, so we'll save that beauty for later. Need to flatten that out just a little bit, so we'll get the professional bodywork hammer. That's probably pretty good. Still a little flippy. Oh, let's clamp it in the vise a couple different directions. This will help kind of straighten it out a bit. Straight enough for what we want to do. So let's get, actually it's marked on that side, so it'd be easier to see our marks over here. So we need to just outline our template. I'm just using a Sharpie I found in the house. I'm sure somebody is missing it, probably my wife. But you can see we've got our template marked out on the scrap piece of metal. So next thing to do would be to get the cutoff wheel, cut this out, and then we'll go test fit it in the car. And just for my sake, so this is going to be even I'm gonna grind it off. I don't know why I did that, because we're gonna cut this to shape and then we're gonna clean all of the paint off of it. Probably hit the backside with some rust-proof paint, and then we'll get going. So let me cut this out and we'll be right back when we're going to go fit it up in the car. All right, so we have our patch panel cut out. You can see here. We went ahead and painted the backside. Just I use that rust converter paint I've been using to cover up any of the bare metal on the welds. Turn that fan off. I'm sure it's not as loud as the welder, but anyway, just some rust converter paint. You want to at least try to get something on the backside, because where this is going is not going to be super accessible. It might be once we cut some of the rockers out on the outside as our kind of a last thing, but get some paint on it. A lot of it around the edges and stuff is going to burn off, but it's better than nothing. So we'll get this fitted up, and I had to trim just a little bit off of it to get it to where I wanted it to be. But once you get it in place where you want, it's a little out on some of the edges, but these will push in. So I want to get to get it to a spot where I can get a tack to get it started, to get it held in place. So probably down around the bottom there. So if you're having trouble keeping stuff in place, you can get those magnets. I got those 4 little red magnets from Harbor Freight. They're like $5, and they were worth every penny of it, because they're worth about $5. But you can use a piece of tape, the self-tapping screws that I've been using. And if you notice, I took a lot of those screws out while we were waiting for this paint to dry. you can, get you something like a screwdriver or a hammer to kind of push it and hold it. But yeah, we'll get this in place. We'll get a couple tacks in this and go from there. So we'll get the helmet on. We'll get a couple tacks in place, and always wear a helmet. You see a lot of people online that'll do the tack and squint, close their eyes and squint and put a tack in. You can kind of get away with that with a MIG. You're not going to get away with a gas MIG. You're not going to get away with that with this flux core, because it is super bright, way brighter than the gas MIG, and there's no the gas cap on the gas MIG does help shield it a little bit. This doesn't have that, so you get the full force of the sun in your face. You're going to sunburn your eyes or your face. Ask me how I know, because I've done both. So the light here also, you always see me have this little light. It helps me be able to see through the mask, because I got an auto dim mask, and this does help me see through it a lot better. This is a very odd angle. Let's take a look. I think that's good. Always hold it for a second after it's after you've tacked it. Because those tacks will still be molten, and you can get it to, it'll pop out on you. So let's get a few more in here, and then we'll cut out to the finished product. Alright, here we go. It's all pretty much welded in. Ground it down a little bit. This is pretty much where it's going to end. We're going to slap some rust preventive paint on it, seam seal it, maybe do a little bit of the short strand fiberglass through this area. There's a couple little bitty pinholes down in here. We're not going to weld those up. We're just going to schmooze some schmooze on there, kind of like the schmooze right here. Once that's painted, you won't even be able to tell. But yeah, we're going to schmooze up probably a few spots where there's gaps, kind of like up in the corner up there. All in these corners here. Inside the wheel well, fill in some gaps to make it nice and smooth. But I don't have any problem doing that. A lot of people say, well, that's just, hackery. Well, it is. But this, again, is not a high dollar show car or anything. We're just trying to get the rust out. And we got the rust out. So that's going to be it for today. I appreciate everybody watching. If you want to see some pictures of the finished product, which would probably be coming out right around the time this video comes out, go over and check out my Instagram. Link will be in the description. I post progress pictures over there all the time. Post a bunch of other stuff. You can even see my chickens if you're interested in that kind of thing. If you are, yeah, you never know. But yeah, that's going to be it for today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking around. If you're not subscribed, please consider hitting that subscribe button, and you'll see more content like this. All right, thank you very much. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.